Welcome to this special edition of European Railway, the video magazine for the continental enthusiast. In this programme we feature extended coverage of the busy freight complex of Somain in northern France, which together with the yard at Lille serves a wide area of this heavily industrialised area. A trip is made to the private steelworks railway around the Spanish town of Gijon. Selzthal is a busy junction in central Austria. We witness a whole host of trains and locomotives on a number of duties, both passenger and freight. We pay a return visit to Hungary's Lake Balaton line as we see M62 and M43 diesels in action around this popular holiday destination. A contrasting study of French secondary lines as we travel to Aix-en-Provence in the south and to Lille in the north. Finally, we journey down the popular Rhine Valley south of Koblenz and view trains on the passenger and freight routes which skirt this mighty river. Situated to the south of the major French city of Lille, Somain is one of the busiest freight locations in northern France. The main reception sidings are seen at Somain as a pair of BB 16500s arrive with a westbound service. This yard works in parallel with Lille La Délivrance, catering for the vast amount of rail-borne freight that is generated in this part of the country. During the morning, a series of locomotive convoys leave the complex and head for the nearby Lens depot for stabling. The yard generally caters for most of the long-distance freight arriving in the area. Some of this is tripped across to La Délivrance yard, which is now mainly responsible for dispatching most of the outward, longer distance trains. Wagons are propelled over the hump into any one of 32 classification sidings by dedicated Class BB 64-700 heavy shunters. Any wagons requiring repairs are shunted into the cripple sidings to the south of the reception lines. Here, new electric locomotive number 27042 heads west. BB22-200 electrics are also common at Somain, usually arriving on long-distance freights from the south, such as Lyon and Marseille. They usually fill in on local trip freights during the day. SNCB number 1206 is seen arriving on a train from Antwerpen Noord yard. We now move to the west end of the yard, where another road overbridge offers a good view of the departure lines. 26062 leads 16605 on 4th September 1993. BB 12000 centre cab electrics were a common sight at Somain right up to their withdrawal. Here 12003 enters the yard on 30th July 1994. Block freight trains such as this load of cars do not call at Somain, but use the avoiding lines along the northern edge of the yard. These tracks are also used by passenger trains on the busy Arras to Valenciennes route. classification yard can clearly be seen here as 16518 heads west for Douai. Other regular visitors to the yard are these dual voltage class 25100 electrics. This one was based at Thionville depot when filmed in 1994. This is the 11:52 departure for Wembley Yard in London. The train can be identified by the wagons conforming to the UK's smaller loading gauge. Another favourite location for photography at Somain is the road crossing at the far western end of the yard. Here 26205 heads an eastbound intermodal on 24th May 2003. SNCB number 1206 departs with the 12:30 return freight for Antwerpen docks. Another dual voltage electric in the shape of 25531 is seen on this loaded steel slab working. With up to 6 freight trains per hour in each direction, there is always something to see at Somain, particularly in the morning period from 06:30 to 10:30 and again in the afternoon from around 1 PM through to 5 PM. Somain is within easy reach of the UK, being just over 2 hours by road from Calais. The area between Oviedo and Gijon is highly industrialised and supports a fascinating and diverse railway infrastructure. The route through the Cordillera Cantabrica mountain range between Oviedo and Leon carries steel products from the Austria steelworks at Verigne near Gijon. Most of these trains, up to 5 a day, are hauled by Class 251 electrics. This one arrives at Campomanes. The line from Verigne Steelworks joins the main line south of Gijon at Somain. Local RENFE trains in the area are operated by these Class 440 suburban units. What really makes this area interesting is the private steelworks railway run by Austria, linking its major steel production facilities at Gijon with those at Aviles. Here a train of coke heads for Aviles on 9th May 2003 on the El Valle passing loop. Another set of empties runs down grade, destined for the loading facility at Albogno. Most of the diesels used on the line were built by Babcock and Wilcox at Bilbao and date from the late 1960s and early 1970s. Most are rated at either 1200 or 1500 horsepower. The line has a gradient of 1 in 91 and trains can be heard for several minutes before they actually come into view, making them exceedingly unpopular with the local inhabitants as trains operate around the clock. Trains carrying molten iron in torpedo wagons run once per hour with up to 25 trains per day, operating 365 days a year. Also bringing steel trains into the region is the privately owned meter gauge FEVE line to Bilbao. Here a train is seen on the outskirts of Oviedo. The line is actually non-electrified for much of its route and is generally operated by these diesel rail cars. This train is near Quintana. Electrification is mainly concentrated around the large town of Oviedo, which supports a wider commuter population. The line skirts the picturesque Asturias mountain range. This train heads for San Sebastian through the village of Villa Armes. This is some of the superb scenery to be found around Toronjo. Finally, we travel back to the steelworks line at El Valle, as we witness this early morning train of torpedo wagons heading for Aviles. Situated in central Austria, Selzthal is a junction town for a series of rail lines linking the north and west of the country with the south and east. We begin our feature early one morning at the south end of the station as we see a relatively rare view of a mainline diesel at Selzthal. In this instance it is 2043-029. About to come off the depot and begin its day's work is 1141-003. There's plenty of freight at Selzthal, although at class 1110 as seen on this example are now almost all withdrawn. On 21st August 1998, 1110-015, with 1142-570 providing assistance at the back, departs with this southbound service for the Salzburg line. The light is now improving as the first of the morning's commuter services approaches. The same morning, and this class 2067 diesel was on station shunting duties. Now withdrawn from traffic, number 1040-014 arrives on 17th June 2002 with a freight from Steinach. This Class 52 steam loco stands guard on a plinth overlooking the station. Class 1041 number 222 departs south with a local train on 17th June 2002. Moving to the northern end of the station now, as Class 4010 number 016 arrives from the south. These intercity units are usually formed as 6-car rakes and are a common sight in the area. Already, the brand new Class 2070 diesels are seen regularly in the area. This one prepares for its next turn of duty in the nearby yard. Class 1041s were living out their final months when filmed here during 2002. 1041-007 arrives in the yard on a local working on 17th June. This locomotive was officially withdrawn on 1st March 2003, having been in traffic for nearly 50 years. Filming trains in the yard is somewhat hampered by the endless amount of support posts as 1040-010 arrives with a freight from Steinach. This locomotive was withdrawn in February of this year.
Regionalzug von Duisburg nach Städten für Bahnsteig 2A1 Duisburg.
The scenery around Selzthal is typically alpine, with some fine views of the mountains in the distance. Reduced to a 5-car formation, the leading vehicle of this Class 4010 unit is still in the old white and blue livery. Continuing unreliability of these trains means that mixing and matching sets such as this is common practice. On 13th May 2001, local shunter 2067-025 indulges in a little bit of lightweight wagon persuasion. To the north of the town is the junction where the lines to Linz and Lamstetten diverge from one another. You can never predict what you will see next in Austria. This DB Class 151 was a real surprise. He at number 042 heads north on the line to Heathrow on the 17th of June 2002. We now move to a convenient level crossing just to the south of the station, opposite the locomotive depot. 1042-008 is seen heading for Calvang. Two kilometres to the west of Selzthal, on the line to Steinach, 1116-004 approaches with the 1534 Innsbruck to Graz. Finally, in the opposite direction, 1142-537 heads the 1946 service to Schladming. The Class M62 diesels in Hungary continue to be a major attraction for European enthusiasts. In this section we take a look at these and other locomotives at work on the main line just to the north of Lake Balaton. Filmed in August 2002, we begin with M62-145 on the outskirts of Asofo with the train for Balaton-Fured. This is M41-2165 on the 1010 Budapest to Topolca. M62-255 is seen just outside Asofo. At Topolca, M62-180 passes the signal box while departing with the 1655 service for Budapest. Superb view of M62-145 as it rounds the bend at Sapojtverdo. We move north to Papa as M41-2182 arrives on a train from Szombathely. M412188 leaves Papa on a Szombathely to Bajor service. This is Zanka as M62113 leaves with the 1630 Balaton Buret to Szombathely. M43 diesels are used for light duties such as local pickup rates. This is M43 1123 at Tapolca. The same loco is seen standing in for the rostered steam locomotive on this regular summer nostalgia train, seen here at Badajornitame. M412153 is seen at RENFE with the 1110 Budapest to Tapolca service. Finally, M62171 leaves Szepesdvado as it heads for Tapolca. Secondary lines in France offer a surprising amount of variety for the general enthusiast and photographer alike. In this section we look at operations around Gardin, on the line between Marseille and Aix-en-Provence, and around the cathedral city of Lens in the north. The line between Aix-en-Provence and Marseille is single track except for passing loops in and around stations. The line has recently seen the introduction of the new X72500 diesel units, which have transformed the standard of rail travel in the area. With its nose section folded back to reveal the couplings, this unit looks like something you would expect to see swimming several kilometres down at the bottom of the sea. Gardin is an important industrial location influenced by the huge bauxite plant sited just off the platform ends. This facility receives at least 2 trains a day from the port at Fos. Morning and evening commuter services are still formed of push-pull sets powered by locally based BB67-400 diesels. The bauxite workings are usually in the hands of Marseille-based BB67,000s, locomotives stable in the station yard between duties. A trip freight from Miramar yard arrives at around 0900 each morning. The locomotive, in this instance 67025, then stables in the station until returning to Miramar around lunchtime. Meanwhile, around the city of Lille in northern France, the trains are a little different. The classic red and cream liveried Caravelle diesel units are very much the norm on this diesel-only cross-country route. This pair head the 0715 departure, which is the 0621 from Reims to Lille on Thursday 26 June 2002. The line from Reims to Lille is increasingly used by long-distance freight services avoiding the busy routes through Paris and Charleville. This pair of BB66,000s heads for Tournier. Just to the west of the station is a conveniently placed road overbridge which offers a good vantage point to watch the various comings and goings. This pair of units is seen arriving from the Ternier direction and crosses the junction with the lines to and from Paris, which continue straight on. Just visible on the right is the single track line into the freight yard. Finally, just south of Lille, on the line to Paris, there are also a number of good photographic locations. Here we see freight livery BB 67530 at the rear of this northbound local service. Without doubt, one of the favourite tourist spots in Germany is the picturesque Rhine Valley. For train watchers, this part of the river is also a major passenger and freight artery. We take a look at rail operations south of Koblenz. Road, river, rail and vineyards are crammed into the river valley, which is generally less than a kilometre wide. The Class 143 operated commuter service is seen on the main passenger line running down the west bank of the river. Intercity services are usually operated by Class 101s or ICE train sets as seen here, although many of the ICEs now use the new high-speed line recently opened between Köln and Frankfurt. On the opposite side is the main freight line. This Class 140 heads north through the town of Osterspey. Some good views can be had from the many access roads that service the vineyards. Some of the local trains are now in the hands of new Class 146 electrics. Here number 2 stops at Herzenach. In advertising livery for the chemical firm Bayer, 101068 heads south on the 15th of June 2002. At this time, one of the tracks here was closed due to engineering work. From the platforms at Herzenach, this Class 140 hold freight is seen heading north. A Class 120 passes by with a diverted southbound intercity working. One 143-568 continues its journey north after the stop at Oberwessel. The new order in the shape of 101034. Pfalz Castle lies in the middle of the river here, opposite Kalb. The Burg Gutenfels Castle, dating from 1200, sits high above the town. It is now a hotel. Kalb is one of a number of towns originally founded in order to collect customs duties. Today it is one of the more popular locations for photographers. 140058 heads south on Friday 16th May 2003. An interesting convoy here as 141277 leads 103190 and diesel 215096. Class 155 electrics based at Mannheim are regular performers on this line. Number 111 heads north. Class 110, the passenger version of the Class 140, are increasingly rare in these parts, and currently work passenger services alongside Class 146s, 143s and some 141s. This is 111-104. Class 140s were once common on local passenger services, but these days they are almost exclusively restricted to freight. Number 14836 departs for Koblenz on 25th July 1994. This is the most photographed part of Bacharach. With the towers as the backdrop, 101081 heads south. We now move to the well-known spot overlooking the river at Niederheimbach. In the far background across the water is the small village of Lorch. A push-pull intercity rake heads south, powered by 120-136 on 26th August 1998. We have taken the car ferry now across the river to Lorch. 151024 heads this northbound freight through the station. The picture was taken from the footbridge that crosses the main road. Travelling back in time to July 1994, and 150-099 powers its train south. The Class 150s have now largely been withdrawn, with just a comparatively small amount of locomotives left in traffic. Coming right up to date now, and brand new dual voltage Class 182 number 021 is seen heading north on the 16th of May 2003. These locos are based on the successful Austrian Class 1116s. Just north of Lorch is Lorchhausen. Its narrow streets mean that the railway is just metres away from people's front doors. This is 101-008 on train EC6 from Chur to Dortmund. In May time, be prepared for flies. 143270 is just a few minutes behind the Class 151 powered freight we've just seen. Finally, we journey to a point south of Lorch, opposite the castle at Berg Hochneck. 110414 heads this motor rail service on 26th July 1994. One 151007 heads this superb rake of old style vans. Finally, it just wouldn't be the same without a Class 103 skirting the river banks. In what was probably their heyday on passenger trains, this unidentified member of the class heads a southbound intercity service on 26 August 1998. We hope that you've enjoyed this special edition of European Railway. Look out for issue number 10 of our regular magazine series, due for release in mid-October.